Do you have a lot of clutter in your mind and you would love to feel totally calm while still being able to keep up with all your responsibilities? Today we're going to talk about how to actually solve that. My name's April Perry and I'm from Learn, Do, Become. We help people who are overwhelmed by the details of life to create simple systems so they can do what matters most. Now, the other day, a member of our Steps to Everyday Productivity program posted this in our members area. It said, "Hey friends, I have a friend that is extremely overwhelmed mentally with all that she has to do. She's a very busy professional, now a student in a graduate program, a wife, etc., and can't figure out how to unravel her mind, which has never been an issue for her before. I would like to send her a video or podcast to encourage her and give a brief overview of what the program can do, but her issue isn't stuff. Any of our admins or other members have an idea of a not too long media piece that fits the bill?" So I love that question, and I thought I would take a few minutes today to provide a very specific answer. So this is actually one of my very favorite questions to answer because it was my own pain in this exact area that brought me to teach organization online that I've been doing for nearly 20 years now. Now, I had learned how to declutter in the past, and I knew how to create an organized space. And if anyone dropped by, they probably thought I had it all together. But my mind was never calm, and maybe you can relate. I couldn't be fully present with my husband or my children. There were always thoughts of things I needed to do that were spinning in my brain. I couldn't even calm my brain when it was time to sleep. And my shoulders were constantly tense. I would just feel like even in places where I should have been relaxed, I just wasn't because I felt like I had to be vigilant to stay on top of everything. Even though I made tons of lists, it just felt overwhelming. Now, I learned how to create that calm that I've now experienced for nearly 2 decades with the help of books like Getting Things Done, which was one of my favorites. And today, I just want to do the same for you. I want to show you how we can help our brains to not have to spin by creating an external system that holds all the things that are important and routines to keep them coming back to us when we need them. Let's start with a few suggestions that came from our community. First, one of our members responded and said, "I joined STEP when I started a new job that was so overwhelming that I was in tears practically every other day. This program is how I restored order." And I think that this video explains the program fairly well, and she linked to one where I talk about a 3-part framework to get out of the overwhelm. I will link that along with today's episode. And she said, "But every time April said piles, I replaced it with overload because I had piles of information overload in my head rather than physical paper piles." So this is where I just want to clarify and explain that the process to get out of overwhelm, whether it's clutter in our minds or clutter in our spaces, it's generally the same as far as how we interpret as a project, a routine, a task, things like that. But sometimes the application is a little bit different, and so that's why I'm going to clarify more of the mindset stuff today. In addition to that member who posted, Taryn, one of our wonderful coaches here at Learn to Become, shared a couple of resources listed in our directory. The 2 links that Taryn shared included a podcast featuring 2 ways to solve the constant churning in our minds and a YouTube video featuring one of our members named Claire, who truly thought she could never be organized, but then she built her full command central, her system, and it changed her life, which is awesome. So you can hear more from her. But now I want to feature a 3rd recommendation that was posted in our group, and then I'm going to take it to the next step. So this person said, "Even though I have a lot to declutter, that part had to be put on hold while I've been working a lot and also improving my health. The biggest tools that have helped me keep up with the overwhelm are the Mind Sweep, Capture Tool, and using Asana for my projects and CBNAL. I'll explain what that means in a second. As long as I keep using those tools efficiently, it reduces the chaos in my mind. I've been sick a couple of times recently and also recovering from mold toxicity exposure, so I have days where I have no energy to do anything and other days where I have the mental clarity to accomplish a lot. These tools have helped me keep things straight about what I have to do today and what can wait until I'm feeling better. And then once I'm feeling better, I already have a plan for the tasks that I will work on next to keep me moving forward. I can't imagine how chaotic my life would be without these tools. I'll be honest, I don't keep up with my landing spots and inbox and physical part of my command central as well as I'd like, but I do have folders where I keep any important documents or mail that are related to a particular project, and I at least separate the important mail from the junk mail as it comes in, and I put it in a separate place from the junk mail so I can find it easily. I would recommend learning one part at a time and implementing it, and then add another part. That's what worked for me while I've been busy. And I've been slowly adding more parts, and now I've actually got probably 75% of STEP implemented. Okay, now that comment included multiple parts of what we call the STEP Command Central. And in essence, we help you to build a system that has 15 parts, and then I describe them throughout the channel and all over the website, and I'll include more links to help you. But we show you how to process everything into this system. That includes papers, digital files, tasks, projects, messages, goals, errands, and every idea that's currently floating around in your head. It's amazing. But processing isn't the end. We then show you how to maintain it with a solid weekly review and great projects and routines moving forward. So essentially it's build the system, process, put everything into it, and maintain so that this lasts you for the rest of your life. And I also want to add a little quick note. We talk about all of this on the podcast, on our YouTube channel, throughout the website, in our newsletter. Like, this is not a secret. And if you dive fully into Learn to Become, you can build your system and get relief. I just want to make it clear that this information is literally available to everyone. And our welcome kit is free. It's learntobecome.com/welcome, and I will link it with this as well. But it's a great place to start. We do have our paid programs, STEP, and we have a membership called Arise. And those take you through bite-sized assignments, have more coaching, community forums, group calls, things like that. And in our STEP program, we also have an on-demand accountability program now that it's included with Step Mastery. And that sends you texts and emails and bite-sized assignments and social media posts where you can report back. That's definitely a little bonus and really fun. So that's an option if you want to move more quickly and get coaching and work with the community. But we are genuinely here to help you at Learn to Become in the way that works best for you. Okay, now let's go back to that last comment from our community member. I'm going to dive into the key things that she said made the biggest difference. So first was the mind sweep. Next was the capture tool. Third was using a project management system. And then fourth is what she called the CBNAL, and that's the context-based next actions list. Now, these 4 things I learned from David Allen, author of Getting Things Done, and then I adapted the principles to make them really visual and step-by-step and family-friendly, because I was learning all this while I'm juggling 4 young children. Eric and I were building our community here at Learn to Become. We were moving, taking care of aging parents, volunteering in our church. We had so much going on, and I needed a system that worked with my schedule because I wasn't just sitting down for several hours a day. I was moving around chasing children. Now we're almost empty nesters and our children have grown, so I have more time to sit. But this is literally what I used to keep my mind calm while we did all these things over the years, okay? So if you're balancing an active family right now and trying to strengthen your health, your personal life, as well as building your professional work, your volunteer work, this is exactly the road to a peaceful mind. Let's start with the first element that we're going to dive deeper into today, which is the mind sweep. So this is essentially where you get everything out of your head and onto paper or a digital note. And most people have done this even before I read Getting Things Done and before I learned the system. Whenever I felt overwhelmed, I would get out a piece of paper and I would just write down everything that I was overwhelmed by. So I do recommend doing a mind sweep. Inside of our program, what we do is we have this little guided mind sweep where it's a bunch of different questions to ask yourself, where it's like, okay, what are all the books I want to read? What are all the things we need to repair in our home? What are the places I want to travel? What are things that digitally are overwhelming me? What are the piles out in the garage or the basement that need to be sorted? You're just getting everything out of your head that's kind of spinning. Now, it feels good to do a mind sweep and get it out. But when you look at it, sometimes you want to just, I don't know, you get really sick because you just think, that's so much stuff I've been holding in my head. How am I possibly going to do this? Now I just have this longer list. Okay, but that's where the fun comes in, because then we're going to process each item so they're organized by when and how we'll need that information. So if you think about it, when you look at a huge list of everything from, oh, that box that's been in the garage for 18 years, I need to do something with it, to I need to pick up a prescription this week. Like, those are two totally different things. One is more urgent, one can probably wait, maybe indefinitely. So when we look at all of it at the same time, sometimes our brains just go into overload and we just stop because we just think, no, I can't do it. Like, not possible. Because we're humans and we can only focus on a few things at a time. So instead, what we do is in our system, and I have, actually, I'll pause and grab it for you. Okay, so hopefully you can kind of see it here if you're watching the video. If you're listening, I'll just explain it. But we have this organized into things to engage with daily, then things to engage with on a weekly basis, and then things to engage with as needed. The reason this is helpful is because in the as needed section, you can put things in files, or you can put them out in the garage and sorted and organized and have them later, someday list, incubating. They're like safe, but you don't have to do them right that minute. In the weekly section, this is where we're looking at things like, what's on our current projects list? What are our routines? What's waiting for us right now? What are some goals? What do I need to read and review this week, right? We've got it kind of all organized. But daily, we're just looking at a pretty open calendar, a CBNAL, or context-based next actions list, our basic messages that we're managing, and basic landing spots. And we'll talk more about that in just a second. So when you learn how to organize each of those 15 parts of the Command Central, then you know all I need to focus on is what I'm doing today, because I did my weekly review, I have things on my calendar, I know what my focus needs to be today, and everything else will come back to me at the appropriate time. I'll just give a quick example. I have some big plans for Learn, Do, Become. I love this community. We're having so much fun here, but I can't do everything right now. Now, I have a tiered projects list, and we'll talk more about projects in a moment, but I have current, in progress or waiting, next in line, and someday. And I can keep just a few projects in current and then sort the rest into the other categories. That lets my brain rest, because when I update my current projects list each month, and I'm just kind of checking in each week, I add the most timely projects that were in queue, and I never have more than 7 or 8 at a time maximum. And sometimes they move quickly, so I'll get through more than that many in a month. But my mind feels calm because I know things are safe. Now, the mind sweep really is only helpful if you have those 15 parts of the system put together. And if you go through on our social media or YouTube or here on the podcast, all the parts are detailed. I've got resources for all of it, so you can learn more about building that. But the essence is, if your mind can feel calm and swept out, then you can put those things into the Command Central, and it helps you to be able to feel that lift. Second, we're going to talk about the capture tool. Okay, so this is essentially a landing spot for things that come into our minds. Because we want our minds to feel calm, we just need a simple place where we can put those things that come in, like a little mind sweep on the go. David Allen recommends having some kind of a notebook, a note card, a digital note, etc., to jot things down when they come into our minds. He says that our minds are for having ideas, not for holding ideas. And this is brilliant. When I was sharing that in my early days, I couldn't go to sleep at night because my brain was spinning. It was because I was assigning my brain to hold every idea, and I didn't know how to put it in a system because it was like, if I don't hold on to it, I'm going to forget it. And so I didn't trust writing it down in a book somewhere, because once I shut the book and put it away, I'm not going to remember. So that's why I was so stressed, and that's why I was staying up at night. And I want you to just pause for a moment and ask yourself, am I feeling really overwhelmed, and is my brain feeling cluttered because I'm holding a lot of tasks, projects, routines, goals, ideas, and I'm keeping them kind of spinning, like the plate spinning in the air, because I'm afraid if I put them somewhere, I'll forget and I'll let someone down, or my dreams will never come true and I'll never get to do that thing, or my responsibilities won't be managed right. So if you're nodding, yeah, 100%, that's where I am. Okay, so let's just talk about the idea of a capture tool. Now, it's most helpful if you've already done a mind sweep and put those things into your command central, okay? But when you have an idea or a thought or something that you remember that's really important, you don't ever just trust your brain to say, oh yeah, I'll do that later. Because we hear this all the time. People say, oh sure, I'll do that. And then 2 weeks later, you ask if they've done it, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I totally forgot. And they genuinely did. And I understand, because our brains are not great at holding ideas. We need to put them into a system. So instead, if you know, okay, I've cleared my brain, I've put it in my command central, now I've got a capture tool that I carry with me on a daily basis. Then the only question is, okay, where do you decide that you want to record those things, and how will you make sure 100% that they're going to come back to you? So let's say you're on a walk and you remember you need to call your insurance company about an upcoming procedure. Well, I personally use a paper capture tool and a digital capture tool, and I'll show you the two. So for paper, I have just a paper planner and I have a blank page on the side. So if I have my planner with me and then I think, oh, I need to remember to do this, I don't know which day I want to do it, maybe I need some additional information, I need to think about it a little bit more, there actually might be a project involved I need to think about, then I just write it down on the right side of my planner and I will look at it every night before I move my bookmark. I have my little next actions bookmark. Before I move that, I look at anything I wrote down and I put it into my system or prepare it for my weekly review. Okay. But let's say you don't want to use a paper planner. That's fine. Then you say, well, what are the things that I've committed to checking every day where I won't miss it? So I might say, you know what, let me just email myself. Get out my phone, send a quick email. I know I process my emails to 0 every day, so I'll check it when I get there. Or if you have a project management tool and you know you can assign it to a certain day and you'll see it pop up, sure, you can just add it in there. Some people do voice memos to themselves and send it to a certain spot, but you want to have at least, maximum 2 places if it's like one paper, one digital, but you want to have a way to be able to capture that information and deliver it to your future self in a trusted way. So that's one of my favorite tricks is just being able to keep up with the system. That's what enables you to have peace of mind for the rest of your life. Now let's talk about project management software. Now, I'm not going to go deep into this. We've explained more of this in other videos and podcasts on the website. But I want to emphasize that you can create a completely paper command central if you want. Some people just like paper and they want it in front of them. They want to use file folders, and having it tangible feels great. I would say most people are going digital, and I would say most people who use some kind of paper are also very digital as well. So I will assume that as we're all moving forward, most of us are using some kind of app that works on, phones, computers, tablets, things like that. So I personally use Asana, so it's Asana, and it's a great project management software that just lets you, and I have the free version, but it lets you just put in projects and subtasks, and you can add things to your calendar. I get a little email from Asana every morning with the things that I'm going to do that day, and it's a great way to just feed me tasks in a very managed way. But I want to share a few things you'll want to do behind the scenes to make that feel calm. So inside of Asana, I have it separated into personal, family, learn to become, and then my volunteer work with our church. So those 4 categories hold all of the related projects and routines. But my projects, I organize as current, just like maybe 1 or 2 in each category so that the total isn't higher than 7 or 8. Then I have a waiting or in progress. Then we have next in line, and then someday. So when I get new ideas, I can put those projects into next in line or someday if now's not the time, but I can stay focused on what's current. Okay. I also keep my routines in there. So those are things I do daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. Now, anything that must be done does have a calendar reminder attached, so it will pop up. And there's a little section called My Tasks. Essentially, it grabs everything from, just this one task I needed done on a certain day, to, here's a sub-step of a project, to, here's a really important routine, whether it's personal, family, learn to become, or volunteer. And it puts that all together and pulls the things I need just for that day. Now, because I don't want to have 75 things on my to-do list for the day, because that just feels overwhelming, I instead want to have maybe, 5 to 10 things that I actually need to do that day. That doesn't mean I only do 5 to 10 things in a day. It means that those are the ones that need my attention. A lot of the other routines are on autopilot, or I have a routine to have like work time where I just sit down and do my work, okay? But what's so nice is because when I'm establishing a routine or I'm working on a project, I can trust that I will check my tasks, in Asana each day. All the stuff that's in there, I would say, 99% of all my ideas and goals and projects are not today. Those are happening later. But that 1% that deserves my focus, it comes right to me. So that way, I just have a few things that I focus on every day. Like today, I'm doing this recording, and this is one of the few things I'm doing during my work hours. And I don't need to feel stressed about the other 850 things I would like to be doing because they're prioritized and we'll get to them when it's time. Finally, let's talk about the context-based next actions list. Okay, so I have mine in my planner and it's super simple. I just use a little bookmark, and I like paper, but you can 100% do this in Asana or digitally. There's lots of apps. So it's just home, computer, errands, to discuss, phone calls. And then I've added here like books I'm reading and then changes I'm trying to make just like internally and through prayer. Okay, so that's how I do mine. You can do this digitally, absolutely, but you do want to maintain the general context where you do your work. So these work for me, like home, computer, errands, phone, to discuss. Those are the ones recommended by David Allen. But you might have things like, when I'm on the road, or if I'm on an airplane, or when my baby's sleeping, or something like that, or if I'm at a physical office or at my classroom, right? So you want to have just a few context, and the things that are on this list, these are things that you can do flexibly throughout the week, and there's not like a pressure to get them done on a certain day, but you do want to get them done by the end of the week. Like, for example, I have sourdough written on here because my son-in-law gave me a sourdough starter and I need to like feed it and make it happy. So I have that on my home list because it's not yet a routine. I'm still deciding if I'm going to be a sourdough person. But anyway, okay. So having a list that's organized that way and organized by where you're going to be when you're completing the task, it's going to give you this flexibility so you're not rewriting things over and over and over again on your calendar. And when you find yourself with a pocket of time, you know what to do. Okay, so those 4 things we talked about today, I'm hopeful that you're going to feel excited about doing a mind sweep and building all the parts of your Command Central so you know where to put them. I hope you'll feel excited about having a capture tool, whether it's a digital note or, you're emailing yourself and keeping emails at zero, or having some kind of a paper or card you keep with you. And then I also hope that you'll start thinking about project management. You don't have to jump into Asana if you haven't done it before, but just learning how to have a folder for each project, putting all the relevant information with it, and having just a few projects on your list with everything else, next in line or someday. That's going to give you the ability to really focus. And having something basic like a next actions list, this is going to help you with all the flexible tasks. And that's assuming you have a simple calendar with the things that you have to do that day. Okay, so where do we go from here? I do recommend that you take some time to learn all the parts of the STEP Command Central. Sign up for our welcome kit at learndobecome.com/welcome, and you'll get the directory that features all the free resources that we have here at Learn, Do, Become, and we have a lot of free resources. Plus, you can immediately get started identifying your current projects and your next actions. We've got some great resources there for you. We do have programs and coaching available if you want more. And we do have a free training called How to Finally Stop Drowning in Piles. You can go to learndobecome.com/step to learn more. And while it does talk mainly about physical clutter, you'll love what it does for your mind as well. Okay. Now, before I close up, I do love to share some testimonials from our community members. So this first one is from Jamie. She said, when you live 30 minutes away from football practice and he's only staying for 30 minutes, so you can get him to a church thing and it's 100 degrees out, you check your errands list and knock out a quick car wash and tire check. Little things add up to big things. I love this from Jamie because honestly, that is why my context-based next actions list means so much to me, because when something like that happens where you're like, I've got time, but what do I do? You've already decided which errands you need to run. I don't have any right now specifically I need to run, but I might do some of my work for my phone, or I might do some journaling, or I might think ahead and start planning. So I love that Jamie's using her time well. And of course, you can take a nap if you want to, or take a little break. This next one is from Daisy, and I'm going to post the photos on our show notes page, which is learndobecome.com/episode 288. But she shares this initial picture that just shows a desk that is very overwhelming. There's just a lot of stuff and it's a nice blank space near a window, but there's just so much that you actually wouldn't sit there to get work done. But she's printed out all the parts of our program, all little printables, and she's got them up ready to go. And then she shows her after, which is beautiful clear space with room for her computer. She's got her inbox. She has all her relevant materials. There's space to just sit down and work. And that feels so good. So many people have a nice clear space at maybe an office or an external work location, and then they get home and they're like, I don't know, I just have chaos. So building a system and a place to just sit and relax, so great. Great job, Daisy. Then next, we have a beautiful photo. This is from Pat, and she shares, I cleaned out my office surfaces, not the shelves or drawers. Now I have a pile of stuff in the corner of my bedroom, but the office is ready for the command central. I found 3 tape dispensers and several envelope boxes that I would have tossed earlier, but thought I might find a use for them in my initial command central. So tomorrow is the next step. And she shows how she had this before, again, just tons of stuff. And then she created clear space. And I love that she found things along the way, because this is what happens. You start buying things over and over again because you're not sure where those things are, and the time you'd spend looking for them, you would just go buy a new one. But often when you can just get your space cleared, not only is it going to give you energy, peace of mind, but it's going to help you to be able to not have to rebuy things and to really know where everything is in your life. And I can't even tell you how much bandwidth that's going to save for you. So wonderful job. Love it. This final one is from Michelle. I love that she has been making progress, and she's kind of started and stopped and started and stopped. But she said, this has helped me implement routines to avoid creating more projects, identifying projects to complete that roll over into a routine. Because remember, routines and projects are different, but establishing a routine is a project. Then she said, it's helped me get real with what a landing spot looks like and I clear my landing spots every day. So for example, the capture tool, that is a landing spot, as well as like a place on your desk, or, we have one in our kitchen where the mail lands and then we clear it and move it where it needs to go. And then finally, she said my context-based next actions list with added capture tool, my mini mind sweep. I'm finding the right format for that. So I love that. She's getting her list ready, her landing spots, her projects, routines. She said, when I had read about implementing STEP and watching the piles melt away, I felt it was unattainable. The statement, a cliche. But really, folks, even if we aren't stepping perfectly, progress is progress. Narrowing down our focus to implement the next step gives us forward motion. I'm going to keep on stepping. STEP has given me quality of life in an upset world. When life put things on hold, I know where I'm at because I have my projects, routines, and tasks all loaded into my command central. So I just wanted to cheer on Michelle and Pat and Daisy and Jamie and all of our community members here at Learn to Become, because you are the ones who are embodying this work and you're making it happen and you're sharing it with friends. And honestly, if everyone had a command central, that's like my dream, a command central in every desk, we would be able to trust each other a little better because we would know things wouldn't get lost. But more importantly, we'll be able to trust ourselves, because no one wants to be that kind of person who just forgets and lets everyone down and just has random things all over that never get done. Like, no one wants that. But sometimes it just feels like the only option because we're just tired. But I promise you, when you learn how to create a system, you're just going to feel relaxed. You're going to feel so good, and it's going to change your life. But essentially, I just want you to know that you do not have to live in overwhelm. If you feel like too much is in your head and too much is expected of you and too much is slipping through the cracks, you can completely solve that. I didn't believe it was possible for most of my life, so I didn't even look for a solution. But now my mission is to help you out of overwhelm so you can do what matters most. So I hope that this just general overview of what we do here has been helpful for you. And I hope that you feel excitement and optimism that great things are ahead. Okay, we'll see you soon. Thanks for being here with us at Learn, Do, Become.